When you're starting your career, you're looking ahead. What are the people in front of me doing and how do I get there? Or how do I get wherever I want to go? And so being in a larger firm, when it's opened it up, is now there's different places I can go. And I think my view of my opportunities in my career has grown. And I think it's also opened up an opportunity to look at what are different advisors doing. I've just gotten a wider scope of what does it look like to be an advisor and how can I build my career.
Welcome back to The Blueprint, an FPA NexGen Podcast. Today we're joined by Julie Penwell, an advisor at Wealthspire Advisors. Join us in her journey on how her passion for planning helped her break into this profession, how M&A has taught her to be adaptable and learn from all the advisors she gets to work with, and how getting out of her comfort zone has helped her accelerate her growth. Take it away, Mike and Deshawn.
All right, Julie, thanks for joining us today. We know you just got back from Future Proof, so why don't you tell us about the exciting things happening at that conference?
I think this is my second year at Future Proof, and I love it so much. I think it's similar to FPA NexGen Gathering in the sense that this is really not like any other conference. So obviously you're spending a couple of days on the beach in Southern California, which I think that just sets things apart in a really incredible way. But I think what that setting actually does is it creates this incredible opportunity where you're really already relaxed. So if you think about most conferences that we go to, we're in a hotel somewhere in a conference center and you're not really seeing daylight and you're a little tired, you're kind of chugging coffee versus at Future Proof, you're outside, you're on the beach, you're in the sunshine, and I get naturally kind of recharged by energy or by being outside in the sunshine. And so I think for me, I just have a lot of energy at that conference, and I think that's kind of everyone there. So it's just the setting creates this. Everyone's relaxed, people are really like comfortable, they're being themselves because you're not stuck somewhere, you're just outside walking around. So I think that really sets it apart. The other thing I really love about Future Proof is just the people you meet. So again, similar to Gathering in that what I love about Gathering is the people you meet. And I think Future Proof is really similar, but you meet really interesting people from kind of different areas in financial services. I've met like a lot of other advisors, both in the US, but I've also met like a good amount of Canadian advisors at Future Proof, which is really unique. So you're just kind of meeting interesting people. And then they do these really great, I think they're called breakthrough meetings where it's almost like speed dating for networking. So you're matched with all of these different people. So like I met someone who works for a donor advised fund group. And then I also met someone who's a podcast consultant and someone who's a content creator. And then I met a college student. So we're really meeting a lot of different people, which I think adds to it and adds a lot of value in the sense that you're not just talking to other advisors, which obviously there's a lot of value in that, but you're talking to people in all areas of the industry. So I love that. And we also had, I think, 8 members of our team at Future Proof this year. So we kind of came in as a crew, which was really great. I mean, like I met so many new friends there, but then getting to spend time with my colleagues just again in this kind of unique setting was really nice. So I love it. Future Proof is really fun.
Thank you for sharing, Julie. I know we're friends on LinkedIn, so I see everyone's pictures at Future Proof. So
Yeah.
if you didn't go, you definitely are like suffering from a lot of FOMO. And every year it just seems like just bigger and bigger and more people are there. So thank you for sharing your experience there. Hey everyone, Deshawn Peterson. I am your host with my co-host Mike Zarelli, and welcome to another episode on season 3, the Blueprint and the FPA NexGen Podcast. And today we have a friend of the room, everyone you see on the camera and everyone behind the camera. We have Julie Penwell, who is a certified financial planner and a financial advisor at Wealthspire Advisors out in the Seattle, Washington area. So for everyone listening, watching, or in the comments, please give a round of applause.
It's such a warm welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a special episode for a special guest, so we have to make sure you feel welcome.
Thank you.
One question I had, because I follow you in your conferences, but just offline. One thing I noticed that you go to the conferences, you go to the awards, you're really involved in some just other communities within the wealth management sphere. So can you tell me just how did you get that started? Or, how did that journey begin? One of the things that we know that this is a very relationship-based business for your clients and peers. So
Yeah.
what set you on that journey to just say, hey, I'm going to be outside meeting people, shaking hands?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really starts with how I came into this industry because I think where I am today is so deeply formed and impacted by the incredible people I've met at every single point of this journey. So I actually knew I wanted to be a financial advisor when I was 15. So I always loved helping people. And at one point, I thought I might be in social services or a counselor. And then I took a financial algebra class when I was in high school and just fell in love. So the compound interest formula, I was sold. It was great. And I thought, okay, if I can marry this world of business, finance, and helping people, I want to do that. So through that, I knew really early on that I wanted to be an advisor. And you all that know me on the call know that I am a talker and I feel like I just love connecting with new people. And so what started in that is I just told people what I was excited about. And I talked about my passion, and that was everything from the coffee shop I was working at 16 years old and getting an introduction to someone who was an advisor who overheard me talking. And then I think it just kind of continued after that. And I met a mentor who was one of the senior advisors in our Seattle office. I met her really early on in college and started getting her perspective on things. And what I really heard clearly from her was just the impact of networking and meeting people. And I think that just started for me really in college and has just expanded throughout my career. So what that looked like is attending conferences while I was in school. I went to FPA National, I think, actually when it was in Chicago, which was really incredible. I started meeting people there, and I think I've just continued to focus on that throughout, my career so far. And that's looked like talking to different advisors, both in person, but also online. One thing that I started doing when I was in college, and I still do to this day, is every time there's an industry award that comes out, whether that's the Wealthies, which just happened, or Investment News Awards, or specifically the Women to Watch Awards, I look at that list of winners and I go and follow everybody on LinkedIn. And sometimes I'll message them and I'll say, hey, I really love what you're doing. Can we talk? Can we connect? Can I learn more? And I think that's been a great way to start to pick up advice from people that are really championing our industry. And so I think that's really what it's been like for me. But honestly, a lot of this is just I love what I do and I really love our industry and I really care about it. And so just meeting people and kind of letting that passion see where things go has just been, I think, really great.
You mentioned a few good things, but I really don't want to jump past this.
Yeah.
You said LinkedIn. I would say mainstream people think LinkedIn and think hiring. They don't actually think of relationship
Yeah.
building. How are you utilizing LinkedIn? Anybody who knows me, I'm very pro
Yeah.
LinkedIn. So I would
Yeah.
love to just hear, your perspective and how you're using it as a tool.
Yeah, well, I think it's twofold. One is in our industry, the connections that you can make through that. So I follow both of you on LinkedIn and a whole bunch of other incredible advisors. And I'm following what they're doing and I'm actually engaging. And for me, I think it's really important to be really authentic with that. I think we're all on social media and we can all get that feeling when someone's just commenting to comment versus, hey, I actually care about what you're doing and let's get on a call, let's talk about it. So I think it's that authentic connection with what other people are doing in our industry. And then I think there's another kind of side of this that is interesting that I'm thinking a little bit more about, and it's how do we use LinkedIn from a business development perspective? So I follow people that are non-financial advisors on LinkedIn, and I think that's something that I'm continuing to keep an eye on of what is my actual audience here? Because digital relationships, from my perspective, a big portion of where our industry is going and how we're going to acquire clients or bring clients in. That's not going to be the only way, but I think that's going to be part of it. And LinkedIn I see as definitely a tool for doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because you can speak directly to an audience. Like I heard somebody utilizing LinkedIn, they followed a bunch of doctors, let's just
Mhm.
say,
Yeah.
and they made content specifically for them. So they were speaking to the doctors on LinkedIn, which is
Yeah.
my mom's a nurse practitioner. She tells me about their community and they're pretty active on LinkedIn on that side. So they were able to break into that part of the algorithm
Yeah.
and now their videos are getting seen by their clients. Like that's a great way to break into. Now we just got to figure out how to do it in other areas of the market.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it though. Like everyone is on LinkedIn. I mean, one of my best friends is in law school right now, and I'm following her, I'm engaging with her posts. I mean, it all comes back to the relationship building, like you said, Deshawn. And so figuring out what are the relationships you want to build. And I think it's fair to say at different points you may want different relationships. Like I think we have really great digital relationships in our financial advisor community. I mean, again, I'm seeing what you guys are doing, I'm supporting it. You do the same for me and so many others. So it's really just thinking about what is your goal with LinkedIn and how do you want to use it? And that might be different at different points too.
Well, and that's a great pivot because, you've made a ton of videos on Instagram as well,
Yeah.
and that's been a pretty cool journey. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So it's been about a year and a half, I think, since we started the Instagram page. And this really came out of sitting around looking at Instagram. I was watching all this content, both financial and non. And I sort of had this moment of like, I want to do that. I mean, if all these people are posting financial content, well, I think I have some things that I could share that, might be formed by the experiences I've had, as an advisor. I have my CFP I work with incredible advisors. So let me start kind of looking at what education and information I can provide. And it's just been really, really fun, honestly. I think it's not something I thought I was going to do. Like 2 or 3 years ago, if you'd asked if I was going to become a content creator, which I don't even know if I can call myself that, but if I thought that's just not something I thought I was going to do. And then once we started creating the content, I just got really, really excited about what we were doing, both from the sense of I think it's just interesting to be doing that in our career. There's not a lot of advisors that are doing this. I think more so today than it was a year ago. So I think it was interesting. But the other piece that excites me about it is Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever the medium is, you make it really accessible. And so what I'm talking about on my Instagram page is really financial education and its fundamentals. It's things that I think are applicable to a lot of different people, and it's pieces of information that you might not otherwise get unless you find someone that's putting it out there. And so I think there's a lot of value in this is really accessible content. So I'm creating information that's helpful for college students that are trying to budget, all the way to young professionals that are starting to get stock compensation and are trying to figure out how do I really maximize my 401k? What are the different saving strategies I should be considering? So I think it's a way to reach a broad audience with really accessible information. And it's just been really interesting too. It's also opened me up to this whole world of financial content. So I feel like I've also met a lot of really interesting people through that.
It's a great skill to learn. And I hate the word content creator. So you are absolutely a financial educator, not a content creator, because you're just giving and giving. You're not expecting anything back.
Yeah.
And
I
you're
really
making,
like that differentiator a lot. And I think that
yeah,
that feels a lot better too, because it is really education based. And I think I have gotten a client through the Instagram page, which I think was great. And also I feel like if I'm reaching people and helping to make an impact in their lives, that is something that's really important to me. And I care a lot more about that than anything else.
exactly. Because we're not cheap as
Yeah.
financial advisors. So you're creating content that can reach those folks that will eventually be able to afford our services, but just quite aren't there yet.
Yeah, and I think it's also created an opportunity for more presentations that I've done. So I've also started doing presentations kind of targeted at graduating seniors in college of what do you need to know to be financially prepared for that first job or that first year. And I think what's great is the Instagram serves as another touch point for that. So here's the basics. Hey, follow me on Instagram, kind of keep an eye on this. And then I think what's also been great is I use it for a lot of my clients and their kids. So all the time I have clients reach out and ask me, hey, my son or daughter is looking to buy or to get their first credit card or is trying to buy a car. Do you have any resources? And absolutely, we have blog posts. I'm happy to jump on a call with them, but I can also send them my Instagram page because I think about how I consume knowledge, and a lot of it is through Instagram or social media. So I think it creates a lot of touch points also for clients that you have now.
And I don't want to drill too much on social, but this is a really good topic. How has, I guess, your business development or client acquisition changed as you gain more momentum on social? Because I can only imagine that everyone might think, how long before it starts to
Yeah.
give me a return on investment, more holistic approach.
Yeah.
Could you share a little bit about that? Because you said a year and a half. And if you look at the
Yeah.
data, they say most podcasts or business Instagrams
Yeah.
and socials don't make it past 10 posts.
Well,
So
I'm glad that I beat that statistic.
yeah.
I've got like 150, so I'm leading the charge there. I mean, it's not the case that I've started doing this and started getting a ton of new leads, and it's just been this like incredible pipeline that I can't turn off. That's not been my experience. It would be really great if it has been, but it's not. The reality is it's a lot of hard work and it takes time. You have to record videos, edit content, post content, which I mean, Mike, you were talking about scheduling things earlier. That's a great tool, but it still takes time to sit down and schedule out posts. And so I think for me, it's finding the balance in all of this. I think it's been helpful in that it creates more touch points. I can meet people and say, hey, follow me on Instagram, kind of look at what I'm doing. And then they can see what I'm doing if I'm, posting on a story throughout. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of time and energy. And I think everything we do is about balance too. So as an advisor, I have to think about how much time am I allocating towards Instagram versus LinkedIn versus networking events and kind of all of the other mediums to find clients and meet people. So I think it's been helpful in that it just creates more touch points. But, I look at some of the really successful creators out there, whether they're financial educators or not, and they're putting a lot of time and energy into this. So I think also for me, realistically, if I could dedicate all of my time into this, I'm sure I would see a different response from it. But it's a balance. I mean, we all have full-time jobs on top of all of this stuff too.
And I would add that there's definitely a benefit to doing this aside from just getting more clients. Like the
Yeah.
practice that you're getting teaching these concepts
Mhm.
and simplifying them. Like that is so crucial. And you mentioned presentations, speaking in front of a lot of people. I mean, that's what you're doing when you're creating a video, whether the audience is digitally in front of you or actually in
Yeah.
front of you.
Yeah, and I think it's also, just open doors in different conversations because I can talk to people about what I'm doing. And there's a lot of other people that are doing similar work now. And so I think it creates these great conversations. I can learn from different people. And it's also just been really fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. And it's been a really cool thing to have done, I think, as I look over the last year and a half. I have this library of content. And I think as an advisor, it's exciting to look at that and tangibly see, oh, hey, I did this. I mean, so I think that's part of it too. And that's why I think whatever kind of content you're going to do as an advisor, I think you should look at it. I mean, it adds a lot of value and you can look back and say, here's tangible things that I've written or that I've shared expertise on or that I have unique perspectives on. And I think that's really just an important part of, building your career as an advisor.
Slight pivot. Before we started recording, we were talking about just consolidation, M&A in
Mhm.
the space. And Julie, you have experienced multiple
Yeah.
points. So could you share a little bit more about your advisor journey, your previous firm, the
Mhm.
acquisition, and the most recent spinoff, and how you
Mhm.
view that? Because
Yeah.
going from one firm to another, me and Mike are constantly hearing from other people like, which firm is the best one for me, or how do I choose my firm?
Yeah.
And it's really a case by case scenario. But for someone who's hit a lot of points on the bingo card, Julie, I think you have some insight. So if you could share a little bit about that, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to kind of, like you said, talk about a bit of the journey that I've had. So I joined our team in Seattle as an intern back in 2017. And at that point, our Seattle team was a standalone RIA, about 12 people. The next summer I came back, we were part of a larger RIA, about 2 to 2.5 billion. And now we were part of a team that spanned the West Coast, excuse me. And that was probably anywhere between 35 and 50 people. And then I joined officially in 2019. And about 2 years later, we were in the process of being acquired by Wealthspire Advisors. So in that time period, I've gone from being at a firm or being a part of a firm that was smaller, definitely where you have four partners, you see people are wearing different hats, to then being at a larger firm where you're starting to think about enterprise models, starting to think about scalability, starting to really have an eye on consistent processes that you can apply across different teams and different offices, to now being a part of definitely a larger RA. I mean, we're, I think, over 300 employees right now. And so I think what that looks and feels a lot different than when I was at a 12-person RIA versus when I was at a 35 or 40-person. The reality is I've been with the same group of people throughout every iteration. And so I think for me, it's kind of been like an evolution as an advisor. And what's been really cool is I feel like as I've grown in my career, the opportunities around me have grown through M&A. And so when I was thinking about this kind of ahead of the podcast this morning, when I was an intern and we had 12 people, I was looking at the career path of, let's say, half of those people were advisors. I was looking at the career path of six different advisors and seeing, okay, what have they done in their careers and what can I look at? And then when we were a larger firm, I now had 24 people to be looking at and getting advice from and talking to and getting wisdom from. And now I'm at a firm where I have a huge amount of advisors. I mean, I've got 100 plus people I can be connecting with. And so I think for me, what that's done is it's opened up the opportunities for career path, because I think what is true, and this is not specific to the financial services industry, but when you're starting your career, you're looking ahead. What are the people in front of me doing and how do I get there? Or how do I get wherever I want to go? And so being in a larger firm, what it's opened it up is now there's different places I can go. And I think my view of my opportunities in my career has grown. And I think it's also opened up an opportunity to look at what are different advisors doing. So there's advisors that within our firm really specialize in different niche markets. There's advisors at our firm that are really focused on ultra high net worth and doing family office service style work for their clients, which is a whole world that I probably would never have had direct exposure to in some of those previous iterations. Maybe through networking opportunities, but I think what this has done is I've just gotten a wider scope of what does it look like to be an advisor and how can I build my career. So it's been, I mean, I've also been on both ends of this, of being a firm that is an acquirer versus being acquired. And, I don't want to say that it's always super easy and there's never any changes and you just can continue doing what you're doing. But I think what it does is it just creates great opportunities. One of our kind of senior leadership members used to always say, you can't rest on your laurels in this industry. And this is this idea that like, how are we changing? How are we evolving? And I think through M&A, I've seen the benefits of that. And, learning to be flexible and adaptable as you're growing with different teams, your culture is changing. I mean, there's just so much that happens with M&A.
What are some of the obstacles that you've experienced through transitioning? I mean, I imagine
Yeah.
when you add more people to the firm, there's changes, there's extra responsibilities, you get pulled a different few ways than you were previously. Like, tell us about the obstacles that you've experienced through these transitions.
Yeah. I mean, to be really candid, I think I've had a really positive experience. And as I look back over the last couple of years, I think there are opportunities that arise in, situations where you have to maybe pause and think about things differently. But generally speaking, I've had a really positive experience. When we were going through our acquisition with Wealthspire, I remember I was just talking to someone who's not in the industry, and I said, "Oh yeah, we're getting acquired." And they said, "Hey, be careful, blood in the water. M&A is not great." And it kind of scared me. And then when we went through this experience, it was really incredibly positive. So just really honestly, I think for me, I've had really positive experiences with it. I think one piece that is true, and I think this is true with consolidation, but also just kind of operating in life, is it's really important to be flexible and to be open to new opportunities. I think that's something that it's easier when you're a younger advisor and you're starting or you're earlier in your career. But I think always just checking your ego at the door and just being open to what can you learn from these different people. So being a part of a firm that is, we've grown through acquisitions. So there's a number of different advisors that have been at different firms that have all come together. And I always look at that as this incredible opportunity of, wow, you have 100 plus advisors that I can learn from that are doing things really incredibly. And how can I learn from that? But the flip side of that is then you have to be thoughtful of, what am I doing that could change? How can I be better? And not being so focused on, what is the process that has gotten me here, but really thinking about where can I learn from these people? What can I do to differentiate? What can we do to be better? And how can you learn from all of these people? But that's not easy either.
You mentioned people who are at the firm and new teams who come on. What's some interesting niches that you've seen or experienced?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like there's several advisors at our firm that specialize in professional athletes and entertainers. And I mean, like I dreamed when I was coming into this industry that like maybe someday I could be an advisor for an athlete. But then I thought, oh, I don't even know who does that. And now there's literally people at our firm that's where they specialize and they add a ton of value and a lot of expertise. So that is just, I think objectively, it's just kind of cool to be on the peripherals of that. There's another advisor that has really created an incredible brand that's really focused on supporting women both through and after their divorce. So I think that's a niche that we hear a little bit more about in the industry, but the way that she's doing it is really incredible. She's doing really incredible women-centric events. And so I think being around that has been really interesting.
Second part of that question is, what would you tell a younger advisor or
Mhm.
early entrant about
Yeah.
defining their niche? Should they be focused on it or should they let it come to them? Is it something that comes from additional exposure? You have to meet as many people as possible, just depending on your setup. But also defining your niche is somewhat important. So I guess what would you tell younger advisors who are looking at those things as they're, trying to build their business?
Well, I think it's all of the above. I think it's everything you said. And I feel like for me, I reflect back on attending conferences and starting to hear about this world of niches, and I felt a lot of pressure around it. And I also looked at, the kind of clients that we serve and looking at, we have a minimum and then what is the network I have and who am I going to be as an advisor and what's my unique perspective. And I feel like for me, like in the first couple of years, I felt so much pressure around that. And I think if I could go back, I would tell myself to just kind of like slow down, turn some of the heat down, take a little bit of the pressure off, because if you were to ask me what my ideal client was a few years ago, that's going to be a little bit different than what my ideal client is today. And I'm sure if we have this conversation of next gen reunion in 15 years, my ideal client's going to be a little different then. And I think that's probably true for a lot of us. So I feel like the first thing I would say is just to kind of take some of the pressure off of yourself and have patience with yourself. I mean, there's so much to learn in our industry and just getting the technical pieces done and really understanding how do you plan well, how do you serve clients well. And I think giving yourself runway to really lean in and soak up all of that information is important. And then I think, really getting focused on who are the people that you want to serve and why. I think, you can say this is my ideal client, but if you don't feel rooted and tied to that and really passionate about that, is that really going to take you all the way through? Maybe it will, but maybe not. I think for me, I always just come back to like, why do I want to help this person? And I think starting there is helpful. And then, yeah, again, just being flexible with yourself. I mean, we evolve so much as people. And I think as advisors, we evolve and our perspectives change too. And the world is changing around us. I mean, we live in a financial services bubble, but the world is changing around us. I mean, the economy is changing. That impacts job markets, that impacts the way that people are earning income. So I think paying attention to all of those things is also an opportunity to yourself to just say, okay, where am I today? Who do I want to serve today?
You're talking about a lot about like finding your ideal client, finding your way to build your own brand, but you're doing it within a larger firm, which I think is so interesting because when you think of a large firm, you think, oh, there's a lot of red tape, you got to follow the rules, everything has to be approved, but that's not what we're hearing right now. So how does your firm handle all these advisors that want to do their own things to build their type of business?
Everything you're saying around kind of like preconceptions we have around being a larger firm. I'm sure there are places where that is true, but again, for me, I feel like, I mean, our firm and our team has supported me in launching an Instagram, which I think, I mean, that's an intensive new thing, compliance reviews, videos. We're touching a lot of teams, and there's been so much support around that. And I have to give so much credit to our leadership and really on our chief marketing officer as well. I mean, she's got this really incredible vision for what we're doing. And I mean, we have an advisor branding program. So what that looks like is as an advisor, and that's open to different levels. I think, I went through that over the last handful of years, and it's been spending time one-on-one with one of our team members saying, who are the clients I want to serve? Where do I want my career to be? And that's, not only as in that client-facing world, but if there's an award I want to win, how do I get there? And really having a lot of support in that. And that's been my experience. And I think it's been really empowering as an advisor because I think, if we didn't have that support on our team and that excitement and that momentum of be your own advisor and really helping supporting you getting there, I don't know if I would have been confident enough to raise my hand and do some of these things. I mean, I think the support that I've had and the encouragement, if I didn't have that, it's hard to imagine launching the Instagram page. If I didn't have people saying, yeah, let's do it, let's support you, let's get you there. And I think that's been really huge. And I think just being at a firm that is excited and wants to support that. And I think it's fair. Not all firms are going to be able to do that. They might also not have the capabilities to. Again, like the Instagram page that I do, that's intensive. It takes time and energy. So being at a firm that has the resources to do that has also been really helpful.
You go to conferences and awards. So you mentioned 3: investment news, wealthies, women to watch. Can you just briefly give a synopsis of what they are and why they resonate, or those are awards that you're following and want to participate in? So,
Yeah.
because it's something that people can strive for. People didn't even know advisors have awards. Like, what? Who would have thought?
Those are a couple examples of awards, but I think it's really everything from, I follow our local business journal awards. I mean, there's 40 under 40, women to watch, entrepreneurial awards. I mean, there's so much happening in our local community. So I'm definitely staying in tune with that, but also looking at our industry. I mean, I look at some of the top publications, and again, I'm following who are the people that are winning these awards, because those are things that are interesting to me. And I want to learn, if they're leading our industry, what are they doing and how can I learn from it? And again, I think it's making those goals for yourself. I have some lofty goals for myself and how I want to create impact and, serve clients really well. And last year, I was fortunate enough to win Investment News NexGen Advisor of the Year. Our team also, I was listed as one of the rising stars within Wealthspire, and then was a finalist with the Women to Watch Awards through Investment News. And I think each one of those experiences, I mean, again, that's just been through a lot of really incredible mentorship and support, I mean, since I started with all of this. So it's just been, really incredible. But going through those events, I mean, you just meet really incredible people who are truly changing our industry. And I think like it humbles me and it excites me. And I just really love seeing all these people just doing really incredible things. So I think it's a great way to just meet people and follow those awards. And it's cool. I mean, it's great to cheer each other on, honestly.
Julie, how does it feel to say that you are changing the industry yourself?
I honestly, every single day, I just feel so grateful to get to do a job that I truly love around people I really love, because I talk to my friends that are in other industries and, they are going through the slog. They're not having good days sometimes. And I mean, we all have challenging days, but I knew I wanted to do this so early on, and then to come into it and actually love it. I mean, that was terrifying. Like, okay, I've been telling everyone my whole life, this is what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to press go. And I just feel really grateful. I mean, it's like, I honestly, it's a lot of phone calls to my dad telling him how I just feel so fortunate and so lucky to be where I am and to have the support around me that I do.
I think it's so unique about our profession because maybe I just don't get out enough to other professions, but nobody's as crazy about taxes as we are about financial planning or the
Yeah.
laws of the land versus us in financial planning. It's just a lot of passion. And I think
Yeah.
it's because at the core, we're a helping profession.
I feel like so many of my friends are financial advisors, not only because we have things in common and we can kind of talk the talk and talk shop, but it's also because the people that I think are attracted to this industry have that desire to help. I mean, every one of us on that call is excited to help people. And also, it's that intellectual curiosity. I mean, we always hear this as an industry where you're never stopping learning. Every day is something new. And some days I wish I'm like, okay, can I stop learning today though? Like just today. But you just meet people, and I think that that passion is so true. And it's just, people are really incredible in this industry. I feel really grateful to get to know so many people because they really do just want to help others, and they think about the world in a really thoughtful and intentional way. And I totally agree. I mean, it's a very unique industry in that way.
If you had to make a golden list or like a recommended list of conferences for people to attend, which ones would it be?
I hear about like these cool conferences that people go to that are really specific in like niche areas. Like there's a whole conference that's just focused on behavioral finance, and I think that sounds really interesting. As I sit today, I think if you're able to go to a national conference, I would always find a way to prioritize that in some way, because once you step outside of your immediate comfort zone, I think it just creates really cool opportunities for growth and connecting with people that are doing really interesting, different things. I think if you are earlier in your career and you can go to FPA NexGen Gathering, I really think that that's an important conference to go to. I think the content is fabulous. I mean, I still have notes somewhere in my desk from all the different sessions I've heard. I mean, I just really powerful stuff. But as we were talking about earlier, the community that you build with that, I mean, I have a mastermind group, and we've been meeting for a couple of years now, and I learned so much from these people, and I just love getting on a call with them. I mean, I care about them as humans, I care about them as professionals, and so I think that community has been so incredible. I think future proof is really interesting, and I would really encourage folks that are kind of wanting to be on the innovative side of our industry and see really what is coming around the bend. I think that's great, but I also think it's important to get involved locally, whatever that local financial planning community is. Our FPA chapter does a symposium, and that's what I was going to right when I was, just starting as an intern, and I started to meet some of these great mentors. So I think having that like national focus where you can and if it's possible for you is important. But I think locally, I mean, you meet really good people. There's advisors that I've met locally that, I need a great CPA for a client and I don't have someone in front of me. Let me reach out to this advisor and how they can support me in that. So I think, it's that balance between national and local is really important.
And we've asked this a couple times now, and it's what do you do outside of work that recharges you, that makes you a better person, that in one way or another actually makes you a better advisor?
I feel like this has been an area of my focus, especially over the last 2 years, is who am I outside of being an advisor? The biggest one that I love so much is backpacking and camping and like going outside and touching some grass. Like, I think it is so important. I mean, I live in the Northwest. The nature we have here is incredible. So I think it's just good to be out in that, get fresh air. I think for me personally, when I'm in nature, I feel like my creative juices are kind of going, and that I have this opportunity to kind of calm, like take a deep breath, be outside and just be innovative. And I feel like that's something I really love. So I think being outdoors and just spending that time really unplugging is really just good for us as people. And then I think I can't not say it because it's football season. I'm a big Seahawks fan. And I will say it's a great networking opportunity. I meet so many incredible people. But I also think just being a part of that like local community and going to a game and cheering on our team, it also is a great way to just kind of like release energy. I mean, like cheering on a sport is like, it's like really good for you, I think. And it creates a lot of bonding opportunities. I mean, I feel like I can talk to my clients all day about the Seahawks. So I don't know. I think being outside, being in sports, just plugging into that community is so good.
Spot on. Community is so important. Just makes you feel human.
And it gives me cool
Awesome.
photos in my office of like me backpacking and then me at Seahawks games. So, I think that helps too.
Did you have fun today?
I had so much fun. You guys are just doing a really great job. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to listen to this podcast too. I mean, I feel like I learned so much. It's so fun to hear other advisors, some of who I know personally, and I know these people, but then I don't know everything they're doing, and just really getting the chance to kind of dig into their insights. So I just really appreciate the opportunity for both of you. Like, I'm really excited watching you guys launch this podcast. It's been so successful, and it's been really fun just to cheer you both on. So thank you guys for the opportunity.
Deshawn and I leave every episode with a page full of notes. So we always thank the guests for making us better advisors as well. Well, this has been the Blueprint, an FPA NexGen podcast, and we will catch you in the next episode.